I think I'm feeling a lot better than when the last week or so. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? I feel like it, honestly. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode Lucas E. Allen Productions on YouTube and all audio platforms. Lucas E. Allen Show. Yes, I know, I'm bringing back the audio, obviously. It's your podcast, your LimitsCenter for your Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. I don't even know what fucking day it is, honestly. Good old me to say. I'm just starting to get away from my sickness to say. I was testing positive for COVID a couple of days ago. But now I'm feeling a lot better to say the least. How y'all doing today? Let me know in the comments section what you do about the thing about everything to say the least. How you feeling to say the least. And Merry Christmas Eve to say the least, man. It's December 23rd, obviously, of 2025. And closer to the end of the year, obviously. Already the end of the year, but still, you get the point to say the least. How y'all doing? Let me know in the comments section on YouTube and Spotify to say at least how your day is going to say. As always, follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Lucas E. Allen. Watching today's podcast on YouTube. Hit the like button on today's podcast. Hit the subscribe button if you've done so already. Turn the bell for our post notifications and upload on YouTube. And always leave a comment on my episode for your one Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025, your LimitsCenter. Watch on Spotify, do the same thing. There's also a 5-star rating as well. It'd be very nice to say at least. Now let's get right starting your podcast stage, your introduction, shall we? Not a lot of news to say the least, but there's a lot of decent amount of news. Not like big time news though to say the least. This ESPN was interested in hosting the 2025 WWE Draft. Obviously, the WWE Draft did not take place at all this year. Obviously, thank God, obviously. We're discussing that. Also, Seth Rollins provides update on timeline for a return from injury. We're discussing that. Also, Jade Cargill has already planned for a WWE WrestleMania 42 entrance. We're discussing that. We're discussing WWE officials divided about, get this, boys and girls, divided about potentially signing Danhausen. You have all people divided about signing Danhausen, the former AEW star, to say the least. Not about that, obviously. We're discussing that. Also, Andrade El Idolo, he's set to make his House of Glory debut and no turning back in New York City. We're discussing that. So Harley Cameron reveals she almost signed with the WWE. We're discussing that. As always, this day in wrestling history. And by the way, no reviews today. I'll probably hopefully do back to regular standard reviews as a separate upload for Lucas E. Allen Productions on YouTube and Spotify, to say the least. So let's get on today's LimitsCenter for your Tuesday, December 23rd of 2025. Let's go on today's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Starting with probably the big news out of all those 7 topics, to say the least, ESPN was interested in hosting the 2025 WWE Draft, and thank God it's not happened, obviously. ESPN had its sights set on the WWE Draft in 2025, but the idea never came together, obviously. According to TC of WrestleVotes, during a Q&A session, ESPN was interested in featuring the WWE Draft on its own platform this year. However, WWE's current show structure and creative direction reportedly clashed with ESPN's broadcast style, and the entire was dropped before it could even take off. I know ESPN definitely wanted to have the draft on their platform, but it doesn't really work in a PLE setting. Obviously, it's obviously great there, obviously. TC said, it's more of a Raw and SmackDown thing. He added that WWE's format and ESPN's expectations just didn't mesh, making the concept difficult to execute beyond the logics. TC also noted that WWE may be moving away from the draft altogether. Thank fucking God, obviously. It's great to hear that, obviously. With the company's current system of seamlessly bringing talent up from NXT, the draft might not be seen as necessary moving forward. Obviously, I like that, obviously. Could it be like a WWE draft in the future? Obviously, there's always like possibilities with that. But for right now, they treat the draft as not even that fucking great to begin with. They just have people going Raw and Smack like there's no tomorrow, including NXT too. Like there's no repercussions or anything. There's no basing on brand split anyways. So there you go. You don't need a fucking draft unless you're really gonna do a brand split. And did we do that? Obviously no. We watched Raw and Smack and even NXT to a point. I'm glad to hear this. I'd rather see this than see no WWE draft here. I just call up, make trades from Raw and SmackDown and call ups from NXT to say at least. I'd rather you do that compared to a full fall draft. You're not going to basically everyone's going to break the rules about to say at least. Those are my thoughts for this for sure to say at least. Moving on to Seth Rollins provides an update on a timeline for his injury. Seth Rollins gave an update on his timetable for his recovery, estimated 3 to 4 months left. Speaking on Mirror Stories, I think that's how you say that, the former World Heavyweight Champion revealed that the timeline for his return from rotator cuff surgery. Rollins noted that he underwent the procedure roughly 2 months ago and still has a significant rehabilitation period ahead of him. He doesn't, quote, have a few more months left with my shoulder, Rollins said. I had the rotator cuff surgery 8 weeks ago, almost 9. From there, we're talking right now, so I got another 3 months, 4 to 4 months at least, and bare minimum, he says, in quote. It's going to be interesting to see. I would assume he'd be clear like right before WrestleMania season, you would think, right? I don't think he'd be in a Rumble match, or he should be, honestly. He's not going to like win or anything. He doesn't need to get to a World Championship, but obviously win the Rumble. He can obviously win the Chamber, honestly. What are you fine with that? They get the Braun Breaker. I think Braun Breaker is the one that dethroned CM Punk on Raw and Netflix, January 5th of 2026. I think that's going to be the case. I think that should be the case, honestly, too. So if Breaker loses, what are you going to do from there? He keeps spearing Punk on Raw and stuff like that. What, is he going to lose ultimately in the end? That'd be kind of stupid. Then again, making Punk look weak could be even more stupid too, but still. If you're going to go full fire with Braun Breaker right now, taking out the Vision's leader, Seth Rollins, and then obviously taking over for the Vision. It's Austin Theory doing the stomp, obviously, a curb stomp I saw on Raw last night. But that review was fucking just anticlimactic, and we get it. We already knew it was me, Austin Theory, to begin with. It was just fucking weird how they did it, though, obviously. And it makes me have no plans for this whatsoever. In all seriousness, I wish Seth Rollins the best and hope to see him back sooner or later on WWE television, to say the least. Moving on to Jade Cargill, the reigning defense WWE Women's Champion. Not having a great reign so far, but that's just creative for you. WWE, obviously, and SmackDown. Jade Cargill has already planned for a WWE WrestleMania 42 entrance. Jade Cargill has opened up about her entrance and attire, knowing that she has already planned her WrestleMania 42 entrance. Every year, many WWE stars save their best entrances and attire for the biggest show of the stage of the year, obviously WrestleMania. They do the same thing with AEW for All In too, would say. I saw the Mercedes, my girl Mercedes. How by far one of my favorite gear ever all years. Probably gear of the year for all professional wrestlers, the All In 2025 gear. Just top notch, if you ask me. But definitely, I get the point there. It's AEW, obviously All In, and obviously WrestleMania, to say the least. The WWE Women's Champion has had her fair share of memorable looks during her career. Obviously, I think she's actually a great gear, honestly, Jade Cargill. And she is now opened up about her thought process. She says, speaking on a collection, Cargill noted that she has already planned her entrance for WrestleMania 42 next April, and that her attire will depend on whether or not that gets approved. She says in a quote, I've already pinpointed the entrance I want to have. I'm going to shoot that over to creative. Let's hope that's approved, Cargill said. As far as the gear, that's going to depend on my entrance. I have 2 options. Let's see how the entrance goes, and that's going to create my idea for the entrance outfit. I think so far in advance, we have to be careful now. Obviously, you don't want to cosplay too much, but I think so far in advance, and I've been struck upon its entrance since October. Cargill has also discussed the inspiration behind her entrance and previous WrestleManias, revealing that she had a nod to a famous musical performance. My WrestleMania entrance last year was a tribute to Tyler, the Creator, at the BET Awards. Never heard of him, honestly. Tyler, the Creator. Never heard of him, honestly. Sorry, Jade. Where he went through the whole storm as he was walking, she said. It was a more intricate, but that was a tribute to his best BET performance. I thought it was phenomenal, and I was wondering how I could turn this up the storm, the pun intended. I do a lot of research for my entrances and attires. She does that, honestly, before I even read this report. Obviously, you look at Jade Cargill, she speaks superstar, obviously. Is she the greatest in-ring professional wrestler? Obviously not. So like an Io Sky type wrestler? Fuck no, obviously. We all know that. Doesn't mean Jay is like technically bad. I mean, she's okay. She's not like known for her in-ring ability, obviously. Doesn't mean she's like a Nia Jax type wrestler. She doesn't like be like injuring people. That's not the case with Jade. Jade is a superstar, obviously. Just look at her. You can speak superstar, stardom. The pun intended, New Japan Pro Wrestling, but still. But I'm interested to see what she looks like for WrestleMania. It'd be interesting, man. And probably her and Bianca Belair are two great freaking attire women, to say the least. Ask me, freaking, I'd be interested in the office list of WrestleMania 42 in general, those two women. Maybe go head to head, one on one, a collision course with those two women. Head to WrestleMania Sales. Keep updating that going forward, if you ask me. Here's a bizarre report I gotta share for you. WWE officials divide about potentially signing AEW star Danhausen. He's a former AEW star, honestly. There's interest in WWE about bringing in Danhausen, but others in the company aren't so keen on him and his talents, as no pun intended, obviously. As Danhausen approaches free agency, WrestleVotes reported in a Q&A session with Fightful Select that the reception to potentially sign the very nice, very evil star is a mixed backstage at WWE. While some officials recognize his popularity and others are reportedly skeptical, like I am, honestly. It's an interesting one, WrestleVotes stated. I know people there want him to come over, but I know people that aren't too keen on him and his talents. So I don't know where they're going to stand, but when it comes time for him to hit free agency, I'm sure they'll be an offer. He's talented, people like him, he's over. I could see them making an offer, but I know some people maybe just don't get it, and that's fair. Like, I don't honestly get the hype of Danhausen either. We'll see. I don't think it's a done deal yet. Danhausen may finally be a free agent relatively soon. Fightful Select reported on Sunday that Danhausen's AEW contract, barring any new extensions, will expire in February of 2026, obviously. His contract was originally set to expire this past summer, but it was intended to extend into the missed injury time while recovering from a torn pectoral muscle in 2023. According to reports, sources within AEW indicated that he hasn't been seen backstage in ages, in quotes. It hasn't been factored into the company's creative plans. Nor I think he's going to be. It's like, what's the hype in Danhausen? Is he popular? Sure. No shit, he's popular. You look at his type of gimmick he possesses in AEW and beyond, he's a popular guy, obviously. But would he make a lick of a difference for WWE? Like, no. So what's the point of bringing him in? Unless he's like a manager, which is how he does, it'll be. Probably be an in-ring competitor for the most part, right? Whatever, bro. I just don't see what's the point of signing Danhausen to WWE or even AEW to a point either. What's the need for a guy like Danhausen? I don't understand, to say the least. So I'm like one of those guys and the people in WWE just don't see the hype in Danhausen, to say the least. Well, what do I know, honestly? Moving on to Andrade El Idolo to make his House of Glory debut at no turning back in New York City. Andrade has had a new indie date announced. House of Glory revealed on Monday that the former WWE star will compete at their No Turning Back event, which is scheduled to take place on February 20th of 2026 in New York City. It said, quote, on Friday, February 20th, 2026, Andrade El Idolo steps into a House of Glory ring in New York City. The promotion wrote in quotes. And up here, Andrade, he made his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling, man. He obviously, we feel like, Lucas, he was obviously in the non-compete clause for a year, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. With apparently Rouge from AEW helped that get Andrade out of his non-compete clause with lawyers involved. Good for that to say. It's all this fucking petty shit from WWE. Oh, but they knew about his non-compete clause. Why don't you debut on AEW to begin with? Stop with your bullshit excuses, you if you're WWE freakos, honestly. I almost call them the AEW sickos, and they're not that. They're both one and the same, honestly. The WWE freakos and the AEW sickos. Just fucking ridiculous, people, to say at least. Get a fucking job in your fucking life. And stop worrying about one promotion or the other, to say at least. If you're a freako or a sicko, to say at least. But good for Andrade getting some reps in New Japan Pro Wrestling Unit and House of Glory, too. Hope to see him back in AEW to say at least and going forward, if you ask me. Moving on to Harley Cameron, the final piece here of today's podcast. Harley Cameron reveals she almost signed with WWE, one half of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. Harley Cameron has detailed conversations she had with WWE and revealed that she signed with the company before joining AEW. The current AEW Women's World Tag Team Champion competed in her only second ever wrestling match on an AEW episode of AEW Dark against her current tag team partner Willow Nightingale. There you go. Did not know that, honestly. Kind of full circle if you ask me for Harley Cameron. Cameron will go on to sign with AEW after only 21 matches in her career. She is now opened up a conversation she had with the WWE prior to her AEW debut. Speaking on the Ariel Helwani show, Cameron expressed gratitude for assistance to be provided early in her journey. She says, and I quote, I will say thank you to them thanks to them because I have my green card, Cameron said. Thanks to them, I learned how to wrestle. They helped me with wrestling and training for flatbacks, and that's how you say that. I believe they went through a traditional stage where in their office certain people were released from the company. They went through some big changes, and the fate just didn't lead with me in that direction. In the interim, though, not knowing what's going on, I had an opportunity to be at AEW Dark. Then I had an opportunity there, and there was an offer with the contract with AEW. Cameron noted that because she was unable to work at the time, she could not train for the Performance Center. Instead, WWE sent her to Flatbacks Wrestling School, where she trained with Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears. And I know that, honestly. Good for her. She says, I don't know whether my interest was lost in the journey, but AEW found me, and I was lucky to have they did. Cameron continued, I was in communications back and forth, but it's not like I got a contract offer. But initially, that was my initial first goal, was definitely going to that direction. I think AEW has allowed me to showcase who I am as a performer. Tony Khan has given me so many amazing opportunities. I'm so lucky he took a chance on someone who had only 21 matches in her career, obviously. Sometimes when you think the universe is saying no, it's because they have other plans, end quote. Good for Harley Cameron here. I did not know any of this story until today, honestly. Good for her. She's getting a lot better. As we first saw her in AEW Dark probably against Willow Nightingale. She was like, I was like looking at this form like, why is this woman in AEW? But then again, she got basically better and better. She still is getting better and better. Especially the first ever AEW Women's Tag Team Champions with Willow Nightingale. Good for her, man. You can see the dedication and improvement Harley Cameron possessed in that gimmick she had. Especially when she's feeling the likes of Mercedes, my grandma Mercedes. She had a very fun match with Mercedes. What was that? Grand Slam Australia, I think it was. Very fun match, if you ask me. I think she fused with Mercedes again. We obviously her and Athena against Willow for World Champ for AEW Women's Tag Team titles. I'm going with Harley and Willow to overtake that. Sorry, Sadie. I love you, but I don't love Athena too. But in seriousness, good for Harley Cameron sharing this stuff to say at least. Good for her to say at least. Finally, one of your LimitsCenter, Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. This day in wrestling history. Starting with 2010. Only two things discussed, believe it or not, this day in wrestling. It starts with 2010. Cavell, better known as Low Key, I think that's how you say that. I never heard of her, honestly. Was released from WWE just 6 months after making his televised debut. And that time, the first ever ROH champion won the second season of NXT. He was a former Ring of Honor champion, too. Interesting. In its original competition format. God, I hate that, honestly. But then won only one televised match in his main roster run in that as well. That was 2010. When his prime participating in wrestling in 2020. On two things in this day in wrestling history. Kind of a boring day, December 23rd. 2020, in an episode of NXT, Adam Cole defeated a return, get this, boys and girls, Velveteen Dream. Remember him, man? God, he fucked up his own situations, man. This would end up being Dream's last match for the company before his release in May of 2021. That is this day in wrestling history. Thank y'all for watching the latest edition of LimitsCenter. Well, this podcast, so obviously your Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. Hopefully, knock on wood, I can have maybe potentially one more upload today to say at least on Lucas Leon Productions on YouTube and all audio platforms, Lucas Leon Show. Mainly YouTube, though. I'm probably going to do, obviously. your part 4, obviously, to my top 50 women's wrestlers list of 2025. Well, no, if it's just somebody be a YouTube upload a day only to say, I just want to keep this series on YouTube and only to say at least. Until next time, just be nice, everybody. Peace and love, right? I am out. Take care. Love you all big time, to say it at least.